So I've only watched the opening statements of A.K. Richardson and Dr. James White. I really don't have any notes for A.K.'s opening. Like, there are some weird audio issues in spurts, like some sort of weird echo because someone pushed a button or something. I don't know what caused that. But I hope to get as comfortable with Romans 9 as he is explaining it someday. If anyone wants to know what I understand Romans 9 to mean, it's pretty much one for one with him. And even Dr. White said, I agree with most of it, except for this one issue. I thought it was interesting because Dr. White starts in Romans 8. He says, you don't predestine groups, you predestine individuals. But the description of Romans 8 is the group that's been called predestined and will be glorified. Like, if you're going to move to Romans 9 and say, oh, these are individuals and they're predestined and called and all this too, which we'll talk about, that's interesting. So, I don't blame White for talking about Romans 8 before he goes into Romans 9, but he's trying to take concepts from Romans 8 and put them in Romans 9. And he accuses AK of taking something out of Romans 9 that belongs there. And I don't know how useful this ongoing debate could be, or this ongoing discussion. So regardless of where you fall on this, Dr. White is trying to load predestination and calling into Romans 9 when those things are possibly not under consideration. Now, let me say this. If AK is right in his reading of Romans 9, that it's not about individual predestination or salvation, then that doesn't mean that Calvinism is false. Calvinism doesn't need Romans 9 as a proof text. You can always go back to Romans 8. And I think that's kind of where this goes. Like, we can debate Romans 9 all day, and I appreciate the majority of the agreement on the passage, but it's like, well, Jacob and Esau are individuals chosen for salvation. No, they're nations chosen for a particular service that affects salvation, and that's where things get complicated. And Dr. White insists mercy and glory in Romans 9 are salvific terms. So that means that we apply salvation in certain portions of this chapter. However, if you paid close attention to, which debate was it? Might not have been a debate. It might have been his exegesis of 1 Corinthians 7 in his series on baptism, where he says the word sanctification, people misunderstand that because they make sanctification mean salvation, when sanctification in 1 Corinthians 7 means that the children are not bastards because a believer and an unbeliever are married. Now, I had a discussion yesterday with some Presbyterians, and I'm like, well, no, I don't agree with your understanding of 1 Corinthians 7, and I just kind of left it at that without bringing up Dr. White or anything. So if you really watch Dr. White and pay attention, he'll make arguments at sometimes. He'll say, oh, mercy and glory have to do with salvation, so therefore this passage is talking about salvation. But then he'll use you can't even do that for the word salvation, because he who endures to the end will be saved, Matthew 24, that's talking about tribulation. That's talking about salvation, the salvation of your life, not the salvation of your soul. So I just want everyone to be aware of that. And I'm not trying to be too critical of Dr. White. I think he did a good presentation. I just fundamentally disagree with him on his interpretation of Romans 8, which again is a completely different debate, but in trying to read that into the text of Romans 9. And depending on how the rest of the debate goes, we'll see if there's anything that we need to add.